Oh my god, hello everyone. Hello to another video. It is I, your host, Media5. I'm excited to have all of you here. Are you in attendance? Yes, 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 yes. The winners, the losers, the queens, the kings, the leaders of the underground societies. Fellow rejects, all my mages, and of course my rats. Hello and welcome to another recording. Welcome to another video. It is I, your lord, your ambassador, Mediafile, and I'm so happy to have all of you here with me. I'm so happy to have all of you here in attendance for what I'm about to discuss today, which will probably be nothing. Let's be honest. Like most of these, hold on. Freedom! I know the hair. Look, it's still like I thought about tying it in a ponytail. So I hope all of you are liking it, enjoying it. I certainly am, for the moment at least, trying to enjoy it. It has been rather warm where I've been for the last couple of weeks. And though this is not my dungeon, it is a loft, actually. A glorified tower, so to speak. Nothing insulated. All the heat sort of seems to be seeping in through the walls. The window that I have open right now to let in some natural light into this horrifying, decorated room. It is what I'm working with right now to help the camera capture my best qualities. And it is something that I am hoping all of you are able to see a lot better. Now, when I was looking back at my previous videos, I have noticed that when I was in my dungeon, my happiest point in my life, let's be honest, yes, the lighting was a bit subpar, but I really did love the ambience, honestly. And I did worry because there were some points in certain videos where you couldn't see me entirely. My person who I was, my my visage, you couldn't really see it as much either. So I was a bit worried. Oh my god, hold on. I'm not a scoundrel. And so, yes, I was a tad bit worried. But in the end, I believe it worked out well. I did it for the content. I did it for all of you to understand and learn something that I believe will help guide yourself through life. And so whenever you find other mages or perhaps any other wizards or witches or whatever they identify themselves as, you can tell them about the things that I've told you, and maybe some might in fact agree with you. And no doubt many have, varied opinions, varied belief systems, varied customs. But what I'm telling you is something that comes from my realm, something that is in fact very real. And that is something that I hope all of you, enjoy. So, well, before, I get into the intro I was talking about earlier, I had quite an interesting weekend. I went back to the Council of Elders back in my own realm. They were discussing the policies. Do you remember the thing I told you about the hybrids before? Things about the Minotaurs, the Centaurs, the Satyrs, or the like. So it was, oh my god, the process did not need to last as long as it honestly did. I was hoping to get home and watch some more interesting videos, let's to be honest. You have to keep yourself healthy after all. And, one of the masters was like, well, so we have all of these hybrids in here, school. Why don't we, have them compete for a spot in the class? And I was like, where are you going with this? And so one of the other presidents was like, yes, we should have them enroll in the tourney. If they enroll in the tourney, they can then become honorary members of society and everything else. I was like, so you want these, people to fight for your amusement, and so whoever comes out on top has the right to come to this school. Is that what we are as a society? They're like, no, you're living it the wrong way, Mediafile. This is in no way. I'm sorry, I'm having a mental breakdown. This is in no way a way of, legalizing, fights, blood fights, things where you bet money or whatever. Schools nowadays do it with scholarships. It's a bunch of schools fighting for your attention, which when you get, it's honestly like how different teams would sort of draft for players when it comes to things like sports. In the School in the Magic realm, it's not too different. However, there are rare circumstances where a tourney is held to see which student has, I believe, the most potential to excel in a specific type of class or a certain type of school of magic. And we do have them. They're not uncommon. They do in fact happen, but we haven't done them in a few years because we thought it's a little bit archaic and a bit, and believe it or not everybody that attends these schools are in fact mages. We have people here, this is extremely rare, but people that cannot really use magic like we can in my realm. They are capable of using mana to a certain extent, but it just doesn't come out. So when that happens, they go to schools, academies, or perhaps, what else are they called? Universities, colleges, I believe there's other words for it. Magisteriums, academias. They attend these places so that they can get a better knowledge of how magic is working and how they can best protect themselves and others against magic. And sometimes even fighting against magic. Because we have those mages, like I'm sure all of you have those people that sort of wave their wands around and shoot and pretty much aim them at anybody. And if you don't have a wand, you can't properly defend yourself. So, for those kind of people, we have certain things that are put in place to protect them and their families, their friends, or whatever. So, I was going through this whole debate with the professors about how we want to organize this event. I said no against the event, but apparently I'm the one that's insane. I don't know how they get that idea. But they were like, no, we're going to have this 20. It's a nice, oh my God, that was a rather large horn. I'm glad I didn't fly in here. It was, I'm not joking. This bee was like this big. This big. It was, oh my God. I'm glad they didn't get, hello, goodbye. So they want to have this 20. Of course, everybody in the neighborhood is invited. But I feel a bit mixed about it because, yes, I have my own shit feelings about things like dragons or things about hybrids. But I do understand completely that there are, in fact, hybrids that were victims of certain magical experimentation. Other people that chose to live that sort of life without fully realizing the consequences. They sort of regret those things. And unfortunately, sometimes these changes are permanent. And there's things that they have to deal with. What we do not know exactly how it works is that whenever a mage agrees to undergo these sort of things, it sort of keeps them from performing magic, at least at the same capacity they used to. They are severely limited in the magic. We believe it may be in some way of the universe or the realm sort of reinforcing itself or, reinforcing the balance and the stability of the people and the creatures that dwell within it. That if you have something or someone fully conscious as a human that can perform, certain superhuman acts or feats because they have been spliced with that of animals, then the amount of magic that they would normally have otherwise to fight against powerful foes or whatever thing, is sort of diminished. It's sort of, limited. But yes, so I went through this whole thing. I absolutely hated it. I hated the fact that I am here, and that is not even mentioning about the sort of, backlash I'm getting from the temple, from other people that are there. I'm making these videos to you, and some of them don't exactly agree with what I have to say. Some of them don't exactly like where my thoughts are going, my sort of, mentality. But granted, this is from centuries of research, of observation. It's not like I'm doing this out of nowhere. There's a specific pattern to why I'm doing this. There's a reason for my madness. And there's other things that I am frankly not okay with. For example, the temple that I belong to. Okay, so law. So I am part of a group of people known as the Celestial Bridge, the emissaries of Pahalu. That is essentially who I am. We do in fact have a logo and we have a banner, and I have it saved somewhere. Perhaps I'll show you, perhaps in another video. Not now because it involves me getting out of this closet and looking for it elsewhere. But we have a specific mission in mind, statement, and everything else. Unfortunately, there seems to be some overlap between the beliefs of my religion and the beliefs of other ones. And so, unfortunately, because there's a strange overlap, they have been, pulling favors. They have been making dealings with other religions, with other belief customs and things like that. So they are starting to adopt certain things from other belief systems that I am not okay with. Things that I don't necessarily agree with. Believe it or not, I am one of the founders of this thing. And so everyone else decided to just, go ahead and do whatever. Our main mission is to be the light, is to bear the light and to spread it outwards. We have what's it called? It's like a chant or a word. Oh my God. I mean, I know what it is. I just don't know what's the phrase. I guess it's a group phrase or something. We call it Amalu. Amalu in my realm signifies love the light. And so we have that thing there. And so by loving the light, we are learning to love everything under the light, within the light, the things that the light is a part of, and even to understand the things that are not part of the light, but that give the light meaning and balance. And so since Pahalu is the emissary of that light, the being that is of that light, that is essentially the light itself, we are trying to essentially spread the will of Pahalu outwards into the world, or to whoever, familiar, right? I know. But it's nothing that crazy. We're just trying to be normal people who just have this connection to a greater spirit. We are trying to spread light in our own different ways. We are trying to maintain a level of individuality so that we're not all doing the exact same thing. That we did not want it to become this sort of strange religion. However, I'm sorry, I'm going into a huge rant right now. But what I did not mean for it was to become this thing where the people sort of, they get things in common. They're like, yes, it kind of sounds like what I'm doing. And so I want to be part of yours and everything else, because that's the dangerous part. Being the celestial bridge, which is essentially the logo, which is what we stand for, it means that we are essentially linking two worlds together. We are linking the world of where Pahalu dwells with our world, the corporeal world, sort of, so to speak. But however, there's also another thing to that. So when you are a bridge, which is what we are, which is what we of the order identify as, that means that we are linking one world to the other. The thing is, bridges go both ways. So whatever goes into this world also comes into the other one. We are essentially also gatekeepers of the bridge, or trolls. Yeah, whatever. So we sort of see what sort of things can get. Now, Pahalu cannot be influenced by the outside world. Pahalu is just simply learning, receiving what the outside world is giving, and Pahalu is open to anyone coming over to visit Pahalu. It's a big thing. It's more spiritual, sentimental. There's a lot of value behind it, a lot of principles. However, some of my I don't want to say subordinates because it sounds a bit pretentious, but it is what it is. We have other followers, even people in my own rank, like myself. I wasn't the only founder. I was one of the founders of this faith. And so, hello! It shows you how old I am, really. And so they apparently, I don't want to say misunderstood what we stood for, but they essentially taken the principles of how we started the group and are sort of adopting other religions and bringing it into our group. And that is a no. That is why we have gatekeepers. We are trying to maintain the purity of our, I don't want to call it religion or cult, the purity of our belief systems, our customs, in a way where it's not sort of muddling the waters. I don't want Pahalu's name to be forgotten or to be confused with anyone else. I want Pahalu to be distinct. That is why we need troll bridges. I mean, bridge trolls. I'm sorry. Oxymoron. No. Not oxymoron. I'm sorry. Freudian slip or whatever. Oh, brilliant man. A little bit, but I mean, behind every brilliant man is a madman, like myself. I'm not calling myself mad. Oh, but no, sorry, I digress. But it was a huge thing. This rant, oh my god, it's going all over the place. I didn't have an idea in mind to do in this video. I was going to talk to you about the subject of time, the manipulation of time, the effect that time has on the body, and how you can see real aspects of this in your actual life, and how there's some truth to what I'm going to tell you. I would like to talk about that. I don't know if I've already wasted so much of the video or whatever. I have about, 15 minutes or so. So I suppose I could delve into it. But I actually did want to talk about the new Lil Naz Xtra video. Oh my god. Da, 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 da. Oh my god, Lil Naz. It was so enjoyable. I know everyone was up in arms about the video he did last time. But like I said before when I did my explanation, people are falling for the act. He is an artist. He is going to do everything in his power to maintain his level of relevancy. And so that how he's doing that is by crazy acts. Gaga did this. Madonna did this. Other people, even Katy Perry, have done it. She's done music videos where she had frosted titties with cherries on them. And people went as up in arms about it. But because, one, he's a minority. Two, because he is gay, which is the big thing. It becomes this whole backlash. And so when you mix that in with the whole, Satan iconography... in his last very popular video, a lot of a certain type of people were not okay with it. And I can understand their viewpoints, but it's like, well, it's your problem. He has a freedom to do so. Part of your faith or religion is to, believe in the free will. And people are going to whatever, just, keep him high thoughts, look out for him. He's just going through his journey right now. People's journeys are different. Some people change later on. Some people do not. Some people get better. Some people get worse. It is not your job to judge, as is not mine as well. But the new music video was quite interesting. It was downright catchy. I was like, oh my god, this wonderful music is quite astounding. The rap break, everything. I thought it was marvelous. Yes, he was a little extra, but let's see who he is. Let us see we look in the video. I myself am quite extra, even more so, but I can't do it because YouTube. Yes, I thought the video was quite interesting. A lot of people, had their thoughts about it. It is quite new. I wanted to say this video for a bit later when everyone else has seen it, but it is making the rounds like a storm right now. Like COVID. Oh, too soon. Whatever. I'm over it. You're over it. I never got it. Mate, I'm in mute. I'm sorry. I didn't even bring that up, by the way. For weeks and weeks and months, I've been experimenting and have not caught it anywhere. I've literally been around people. I've tested, come out negative and everything else. So I am doing my part. So don't get at me. Don't get all, vaccine, whatever. I am fine right now. Will I get it? Who knows? It depends. But like I said, majors, we're not really affected by these sort of things. So there's no real reason to take anything at all. And honestly, it's my business and not yours. So like I said, stay in your lane, people, the lane where there's Walmarts and cars and bicycles, ladies with the horses, and all that. So do you remember the Kabbalists I was telling you about? So the Kabbalists, believe it or not, I couldn't find it. Do you remember this? Do you remember the secret place I told you that I found the Kabbalist? So apparently, it's gone. I don't know where it is. They did a really good job of keeping it secret. They're nowhere to be found. And I was like, I really wanted to go Kabbalist writing over the weekend, but I couldn't find them anymore. But actually, recently, I had somebody contact me, and they sent me something through the Scry, untraceable. I know, so me. I don't like anyone listen to my conversations. They are my conversations. They're not yours. Okay. What I do in my own home and to myself is my business. It's not your business. So I got this thing. I received it, and apparently it was new directions or perhaps a code to attain a quality I wanted to, or if I wanted to keep doing business, I could get things like discounts and even merchandise. So I am kind of excited about it. I still have to look at it. I won't tell you what it is. Obviously, this isn't exactly private, but. But for those of you who are curious, for those of you who live in my realm, make sure you pay attention. If you are, I believe, marked, which is our example of subscribed to them, they will certainly send you something if you're interested enough. I happen to be talking about it on a public platform, not very, known here in the mortal realm, but back where I come from, a lot of people are watching it. So I don't want to say I'm a celebrity because I'm certainly not. I'm beyond that. No, but it can be a handful sometimes. People want fame. I would think twice about it. Okay, so I was looking at the Kabbalist, couldn't find anything, and so they sent me a link to something else. It was quite grand. So, I suppose I can get quite into it. The Lil Naz thing, I think I'm just going to end it. I thought it was a good video. It's just him being him. If you have an issue with it, then don't watch it. People are making things about the blood in the shoe, which could in fact be fake. People just trust everything they read online nowadays. So what? It's a shoe. Whose blood is it? It's the blood of a child. How do you know? It was probably his own blood, or probably no blood at all. It could have been, watercolor or corn syrup with a red dye in it. I didn't make the bloody shoe. Apparently, it wasn't like he was selling it mass produced. He was just, whatever, making a statement. I'm over it. So, and I know this topic requires a bit more time. But no, so I'm going to go into the topic just a quick bit. I'll probably go into more depth in a later video, knowing that I went on an insanely long rant, unplanned, of course, but it will be the subject of time. So time as we know it, we believe it to be a construct. We believe it's something that we made ourselves. That is not entirely true. Time, like our own spirit, like our souls, is something that is unseeable. It exists in a different plane. It is a measure of how the system, or I believe how the world itself, knows when and how to do something. You have things like 4 seasons. You have things like the day and night cycles, however many hours they take and everything else. These are evidences that there is some sort of time, I believe an element of time, that these things come out on schedule. Winter comes around at a specific time of year, the same thing as summer. The seasons don't just go at it crazy. It's not like it's winter one day and summer the next. These sort of things don't happen. Why? Because there is a set time that was established in the universe. However, the subject of time is quite interesting. And many people in my own faith, or I believe in my own realm, have talked about things like time magic, manipulating time. Is it possible? Is it legal? Which is a big thing. And no, it is not legal, believe it or not. Legal for us. But the people that are higher up, the people that are known as the prophets or whatever else, and even some other people in the echelons of our society have claims to this, experimental type of magic involving time to avoid cataclysmic events or to turn back certain things in time to allow us to better fight these sort of things that come. The war that came, that I lost my, a family member in a long time ago, I discussed in a previous video. The battle that took place thousands of years ago, the things with titans, or even a cataclysmic event like a meteor, or perhaps a world bumping into the world, which does happen. Scary stuff, but it does happen. So we have this sort of things like magic that allow us to sort of peer into time, in and out time, to do things to better, defend ourselves, or to perhaps, do something further before time that would cause then a butterfly effect to affect that which would otherwise cause a cataclysmic event to not happen, or at least to the degree that they meant it to. And so this sort of, I know the subject is quite heavy, which is why I probably have to make a two-parter, considering I do a whole round at the beginning of the video. But when it comes to this sort of event, or when it comes to things like time magic, you have to be, of course, very careful how to manipulate it. There is no set way to know how to do it. It's extremely experimental, like I said. It's more of a theory, somewhat. The only beings that should have access to that power are things like gods or deities. Things that exist outside of time, that sort of influence the elements, that sort of influence time itself. Things that exist outside of time have an influence on time. Or, if they so choose, to be influenced by the very thing they created. Think about time as like a tube or thing, or think of it as a room. You construct the room to look and behave a certain way. Okay, you put lights in it, you put pipes in it, either for water, electricity, heating. Everything works the way it's supposed to work. Anything that is within that room is subject to the effects of that room. It's subject to the lights, the heating, the water, everything that is in there, like even the furniture, if there is furniture. And so, however, the person that created the room can essentially create a doorway that is apparently inherently difficult to find and impossible to open from the inside. However, a higher being, a stronger being, a being that exists outside the room is then able to grab the door, open it, and then come through. And so then when they become one within the chamber of time, they can then, if they so choose, remain in it and be affected by the things within that frame of time. However, because they are a being that constructed the time, they are not bound by it. They can leave at will. They can leave outside the door, or they can stay inside for as long as they want. And so, because they existed, and because the internal time is different from the time within the room, within the thing that governs us, they can essentially live for what seems to us like an eternity. They can appear immortal. And so for a certain amount of time, they can sort of choose whether or not they can age, which they won't, and which they can't really. And mind you, I am talking about theoretical. The theoretical principles that govern time and the beings that exist outside of it. It is a huge thing. Even in my room, it's a huge study. It started perhaps a few decades ago, I want to say maybe 30, when it started with this whole thing about time, manipulation of time, or the existence of time and everything else. So, people here say that time is a construct. And in a certain way, they are correct, but not in what they see it as. They are saying that time is a construct made by mortal hands, by people. That is not correct. It is something that is measured differently by us, but it's something that was created by beings that exist outside the room. And so by trying to manipulate that time, it can cause disastrous effects, either cataclysmic, but it doesn't have to be bad. Some things can be good in the outside. So here's a sort of proof where I can tell you where you can sort of not manipulate time, but you can sort of not be affected by it as other people normally would be. The thing about time is that when you are aware of time, time then affects you. When you're not really aware of time, your body is essentially also not aware of time. Your body sort of reacts differently. There is a physical reaction you get when you are aware of time and when time passes. For example, you know the expression they say, time flies when you're having fun. When your mind is occupied, not on time, on other things, when you are simply being present, you are essentially delving into the world of the eternity. When you're delving within the world of eternity, you are sitting there and you are sort of just going through life, understanding how things are working. When you have things like time, which exists outside, you go inwards if you're on the outside and you sort of, see how things are working. But essentially how this works is that, like, if you're at work normally, right, and let's say you work a 10-hour day, like I do, work can become a drag. And so when you are working and you feel and you know how long you've been working for, and the anticipation of getting through that time starts to wear on you, when you are aware of how many hours have passed, when you are aware of how long you've been there doing whatever you're doing, your body starts to have a physical reaction to it. But when you are not, you feel a lot better. You sort of have a bit more energy. You're like, wow, time went by. I feel fine. I still have the energy I didn't normally have when I usually work this schedule. That is an example of the mind delving into sort of a different realm of time, a different perception of time. When you aren't aware of time, time doesn't matter to you. And when time doesn't matter to you, that is when you start to delve into the world of the eternal. That's how gods operate. That is how spirits operate. They exist within another realm. They are essentially timeless, eternal. They don't think about time because time doesn't matter to them. And so that is why they're able to function and do what it is that they do. When people are sort of always on the go, when people are constantly occupied or busy, time flies. Many times it gives them things like regret because they didn't do what they wanted to do, or maybe they didn't realize how fast time was actually flying by. A lot of people that I've spoken to mention how fast the year 2020 went, how fast 2021 is going. But when you look at how many people are sort of just going through the days without considering each detail of the day, it makes the days considerably shorter. When you wake up early in the morning and you do nothing but one task the entire day, you think about nothing else, you think about how much time you wasted doing that one particular task. And so, however, your body wasn't exactly affected by you knowing what time it was. So I know it's a big thing, but think about what I'm telling you. We are essentially beings, spirits from another realm that are dwelling within a corporeal form that is limited by time, that is affected by time. But when the spirit itself is not thinking about time, it is starting to exist outside of the influence of time. And so your body, because it is being inhabited by a spirit, starts to develop certain things like sort of that immortal energy. You don't really feel the same way you do. Some people might have some effects, but it's not as grave as it was. If you're normally standing on your feet for 10 hours working in a specific job, and you're aware of the time you're spending there, and every hour feels like 10, it affects you, it drains you spiritually and physically. But then there are other days where you don't think about it, there's something to look forward to, you're not focused on the time, you're just trying to just think of nothing, absolutely nothing. You are just going through it, you are becoming the task. And so when you don't realize what's going on, but then at the end of the day, or at least when your breaks come, you're like, wow, that went rather fast. Your body legitimately feels different. It physically feels different when you're not aware of the time. That is why time flies when you're having fun, because your mind is not focused on time. It is not focused by the constraints of time or by the physical effects that can cause a person who is under the influence of time. I know it is an insane subject, but there is some truth to it, I assure you. The reason why some people are sort of experimenting this right now in my realm is because of the issues of immortality, or trying to seek things out of people who perhaps have terminal illnesses. We are trying to figure out ways to manipulate time sort of to not only lengthen the life, but lengthen the perception of life, to feel as though you've lived a full life, to give you some sort of meaning. And it's sort of twisted and weird when you consider you're trying to incorporate that into little children's lives, or perhaps even to animals like cats or dogs. And it's not always something that great. It is just experimental. I just use that as an example. It's not strictly catered to that reason. There are other reasons why people want to manipulate time, either for nefarious or for, blessed or benign reasons. But we need to consider the principle of time and how time is. Time is not a construct by human hands, but by hands of the ethereal, hands of the eternal beings that govern our society and our realms. So, without further more delay, I sure hope you enjoy that brief introduction to time and perhaps everything else that I've mentioned. I sure hope all of you are having a marvelous time, a marvelous week. I ask and I implore the great divine spirit Pahalo to look after all of you in your homes, in your cars, wherever you are. Remember to treat each other with love, kindness, and respect, and to always try to seek the truth from many different perspectives and see what correlates together. I want all of you to be well, dress properly, be yourself, make sure you shower regularly, and remember that when the sun shines, it shines for you. Don't look at that. Like I said, broom closet. Goodbye.